Most people think social media addiction is caused by weak self-control, but addiction rarely begins with weakness. It begins with emotional reward. Social media succeeds because it gives the brain exactly what it naturally seeks: attention, novelty, validation, connection, escape, and over time, the brain learns to depend on it. Not because the content is always meaningful, but because the platform constantly promises the possibility of emotional stimulation. Every notification creates anticipation. Every like creates social reinforcement. Every new post offers uncertainty. And uncertainty is extremely powerful psychologically, because the brain pays more attention to unpredictable rewards than predictable ones. That's why checking your phone feels automatic. The behavior becomes conditioned, not conscious. Over time, social media stops becoming a tool. It becomes an emotional environment. People wake up and immediately enter it. They consume emotions before experiencing real life. Opinions, arguments, validation, comparison, entertainment, conflict. The brain absorbs all of it continuously. And eventually, many people stop noticing how emotionally dependent they become on constant stimulation. One of the most addictive parts of social media is social validation. Humans naturally care about status and acceptance. For most of human history, social rejection could threaten survival. Being excluded from a tribe once carried real danger. And because of that, the human brain evolved to care deeply about social feedback. Social media amplifies this instinct dramatically. Likes become approval. Views become social proof. Followers become perceived status. And slowly, people begin attaching self-worth to digital reactions. The dangerous part is that validation on social media is inconsistent. Sometimes people receive attention, sometimes they don't. And that unpredictability keeps people emotionally invested. The brain keeps returning for reassurance, for recognition, for confirmation. Over time, this creates emotional dependency. Many people no longer post because they genuinely want to express themselves. They post because they want to feel seen. And when validation becomes tied to identity, silence can begin to feel personal. Another reason social media becomes addictive is comparison. Humans naturally compare themselves to others to evaluate their own position socially. But social media creates a distorted environment for comparison. People mostly display success, beauty, confidence, achievement, happiness, rarely uncertainty, rarely loneliness, rarely failure. As a result, many people constantly compare their real lives to curated versions of other people. And the brain often interprets that comparison emotionally instead of logically. Even when people consciously know that social media is filtered, the emotional impact still affects them. This is why excessive social media usage often increases anxiety, insecurity, envy, loneliness, and dissatisfaction. Not necessarily because people want more, but because they begin feeling like they are falling behind. Social media also changes attention itself. The brain adapts to fast stimulation, short videos, constant scrolling, rapid emotional shifts, continuous novelty. Over time, slower experiences begin feeling less stimulating by comparison. Deep focus becomes harder. Stillness feels uncomfortable. Silence feels empty. And many people instinctively reach for stimulation whenever discomfort appears. Not because they are incapable of being alone with thoughts, but because the brain has been trained to avoid internal quiet. Perhaps the most powerful aspect of social media addiction is emotional escape. For many people, scrolling temporarily reduces discomfort. Stress, boredom, loneliness, anxiety, uncertainty. The platform becomes a distraction from internal emotion. But distraction is not resolution. The emotions usually return once the stimulation disappears, which creates another cycle of consumption. And eventually, many people become trapped between overstimulation and emotional exhaustion. The strange part is that social media often promises connection while simultaneously increasing disconnection from reality. People consume more human interaction than ever before, yet many feel increasingly isolated emotionally because digital interaction is not always the same as genuine emotional presence. The problem is not that social media exists. The problem is that modern platforms are designed to maximize attention at all costs. The longer people stay emotionally engaged, the more profitable they become. And because human psychology is predictable, these systems continuously adapt to exploit attention more efficiently, which means social media addiction is not simply an individual problem. It is also a system designed around human vulnerability and in a world competing constantly for attention. Learning to consciously control focus may become one of the most important psychological skills left. Subscribe to Quiet Theory for more explorations into psychology, human behavior, and the hidden patterns shaping modern life.